Has this ever happened to you? You bought a heater for your shop, but it takes too long to heat up, so you're always cold. Or you have it run all night and then it's too expensive. Not anymore.
Stay tuned. We're going to show you how with just a few things you probably have laying around your house already and some simple DIY, you can solve this problem.
Next on Now We Build.
So it's starting to become winter time and we want to keep the shop warm. Luckily, we got ourselves this bad boy. 5,000 watts of pure heat. You can turn it down to 3,000 or 4,000 watts, and it does come with a thermostat, which is great, except that the thermostat sucks, and we can't tell it to just turn on using any of our smart home devices. This bad boy is ancient in the way that it's designed. Could have easily been made in the 50s, but what we're gonna hopefully do is modernize it using a bunch of stuff that we already kind of had lying around. I think there's only one piece of kit that we bought new, and it is this little relay here. So this is an Inkbird relay. It is a SR40DA solid state module. We're gonna be giving it a shot today. We're gonna have all the links to everything here down below. I'm not saying this is the best way to do what we're doing, but I already had one of these Inkbirds lying around. This thing's really cool. You could do it for an air conditioner or for a heater. And the way that it works is it has a thermocouple, which is here. So you could stick this either in like a water bath or just leave it hanging around in the air if you wanted to heat up a room. And then you plug the Inkbird into the wall, which I'll do now. It'll turn on, it'll tell you the temperature, and then you have your set point for what you'd like it to be. Gives you the temperature of what we're at, and then you can have a set point. So right now, for instance, if I wanted it to be 142 degrees in here, I would set it to 142 degrees, and right now it has turned on the heating plug.
But wait a minute, our heater is 220.
Yes, so the plug for the heater is, unfortunately, these do not plug in, and even if they did, well, this is asking for 240 volts, and this can only give 120.
So how are we gonna do this?
Well, we do have a 240 volt outlet, surprise, surprise, since we were able to run this all last winter, but this will not be able to do anything about it because it's wrong. So we're gonna use a relay. The way that a relay works is you take something with a lower voltage and it flicks a much bigger switch, which can then actuate, in this case, 240 volts.
Why do we have an ammo box?
Well, since we're dealing with a lot of power, we're going to be putting all of our project into some receptacle that's going to keep everything safe and out of the, the prying fingers of little children or stupid bumbling idiots like me. And we even can lock it up, so you could do kind of a lockout, tagout situation where this is going to remain locked and safe until somebody who knows what they're doing goes in and messes with it.
One last question. What's this smart switch for?
Yes. So the smart switch is going to determine whether or not you want this to turn on. Again, this thing has a thermostat. It's a really crappy one because somewhere in the heater, you're gonna have a thermometer that tells how hot stuff is, not where you want the thermometer to be. We'd rather it be somewhere else in the room. But we also want to be able to say, like on days that we're not out here working in the shop, 5,000 watts can get a little bit expensive, especially if you run it for, say, an hour. That's like $1 of electricity. So on days where we don't want it to run, you simply just say, turn off the shop heater.
But again, that's 110, so...
So take the whole thing.
Oh.
Plug it in. This could be accomplished so much better for sure, but we had a smart switch laying around. We had an Inkbird laying around. We didn't have this, and we didn't have the ammo box, which was, I think, $6.
So, I mean, we're only talking about, like, what? Smart switch is like $10. The Inkbird thing is like $20.
Yep.
The relay was like 12.
Yep.
And the ammo box was 6.
Last thing you may be wondering, how do we get from this outlet into here? Because this relay is actually actuated with a DC current.
Oh yeah, how do we do that?
We just take a piece of trash like this.
What is that?
This is like a phone charger or something. You could use like even an ancient one. This one makes 25 volts, and this can take anywhere from 3 to 32 volts.
Oh, so let me get this straight. The low voltage turns it on and off. It's like a little switch.
Right.
And like you said, that relay throws a bigger switch.
Yes.
Oh, okay. This is all making sense.
I just want to preface, this is not the most efficient way to do it or the smartest way to do it. We had all of this stuff already.
I think it's a pretty damn good way to do it.
It's a nice visual way to think of all of this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so to actuate this relay, we're going to need somewhere between 3 to 32 volts DC. Now the problem with power that comes out of the wall is that it's 120 volts AC. And so that presents a bit of a problem, which means that when this is saying heat stuff up, if I were to plug, those leads into this power supply, it would both fry it and not work, which is two things that we don't want. So what we're going to do is find a magic box, which converts 120 volts AC into a DC current. This one, if you look on most of these power supplies, you'll see what they do in terms of voltage in amps. This will do 24 volts at 2 amps, which is quite a bit of power, probably more than we need.
Did you have to buy that, by the way?
This was junk. This was in the junk drawer. You probably have some of these in your junk drawer. It's just a transformer, converts AC into DC and at a lower voltage. So I'm gonna cut the cord, and we have 2 little cables in there. One's positive, one's negative. As you can see, there's red and black. So I'm gonna strip this off, and hopefully we will get...
So it was free.
This is free because it's trash. Trash.
Should people save these?
No, but yes, but
I can't seem to throw them away. Just for this very reason.
This is exactly, well, first of all, there's the thing that you originally had it for, and this doesn't really tell you anything, right? This doesn't say, hey, it's for that thing that you left in. No, it doesn't ever tell you.
In some other life, I labeled these all, but
sure,
not in this life.
But the good news is you just match the voltages, and as long as it has enough amps, you're going to be fine. And hopefully in this case, we're going to have the exact same thing. All right, so I'm going to give this a quick test. Our thingy.
And how are you testing? Are you using a voltage meter?
Yeah. Let me guess.
24.
Yeah. Great. So now we have 24 volts. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to double check that it's not still supplying current. It is still supplying current.
Wait, what?
Even though it's unplugged. Yeah.
How is that possible? It's going down.
Yeah, capacitors.
Oh,
baby.
there's a capacitor in it.
And in fact, the light is still on. So you gotta...
Crazy. Capacitors are like little batteries.
Gotta be thinking. Always thinking there. So, yeah.
Should be dead by now.
It's getting there.
Just touch it to your tongue.
3, 2, 1. Oh. Yeah, that should be low enough to... So,
Never would have thought it would. That's probably because it's big enough to have a capacitor in it.
Yeah.
That's a nice power supply. Most don't have that.
Yeah. So, now what we're going to do is I'm going to plug the negative into the negative and the positive into the positive. This is just to test out to make sure that it works. So, nice and wide.
And again, what this relay does is basically kind of like you yelling at your friend to, okay, go ahead and lift something.
Yes.
It's just a switch that tells it to open a big switch.
All right, so now all works well. Plug it in, and we have a red light.
Is that good?
Well, so the red light should indicate that this is now an open switch, or actually a closed switch. Should mean that basically electricity should be able to flow through it. My meter is saying that there is 8 kilo ohms. That seems high, but I'm gonna roll with it.
Okay, so basically if you unplug it, okay, so you just took the leads away and you get overload, which means nothing.
Right.
And then you connect it to it.
Yes. Now the other thing that we can do,
And it switches to 8 kilo ohms,
so the only problem is when I unplug it, this is actually would be a problem in our controls scenario. There, now it just dropped to low enough to where it shut off, and now it says overload on our little measurer, and then when I plug this in, we should see
There we go.
So basically we now have an actuated switch. And so now what we're gonna do is, this relay can take 24 to 380 volts AC across these two, and it can turn them on and off. And this is rated for up to 40 amps, and that heater is only gonna be able to draw 20 amps. So we're very safe in terms of what we're gonna be running. And so now it's time to look at the business end of our heater. So our heater uses 240. This is a pretty old style 240 plug. Line 1, line 2, and ground. There's no neutral because anything you plug into this is going to be running strictly 240. What we need to do is be able to turn on and off the heater. Now, one easy way to do it would be to have a guy, we would just pay him all day, every day, to stand around, and when I said, turn it on, he would plug it in to the wall, and then when I said shut it off, he would unplug it. That's expensive. What we're trying to do is come up with a digital solution for that. So what we're going to do is essentially take one of these two wires, which goes all the way and up to the unit, and we're essentially going to put this relay in the way. And so this is going to be able to shut off or turn on the heater using this relay whenever we power up using this power supply, and in turn the power supply is turned on and off by this thermal controller. All right, so now I'm going to do the scariest part of the whole project. I'm going to cut a 240 volt electrical wire.
Why is that scary? It's not plugged into anything.
It's not plugged into anything. It's not plugged into anything. The other part's plugged in. It's in there, and that isn't powered.
I'm not scared.
I promise. I'm promising myself, really. Just kidding. So inside you see we have our two cut ends. There's a green one, a white one, and a black one. So the white and the black are both our lines, so it doesn't really matter which one we choose. So normally in a power cord there would be like a hot and a neutral. In this case they're both hot because this is 240, baby. So yeah, one of these is hot and the other one is hot but on a different phase. And if you connect them together, you get 240 volts. There is no neutral.
So when you switch just one leg, let's say the black leg, the other leg's still hot, so you're still getting 120 volts to the heater?
No, because there's no neutral, there's no return path for the circuit, so the circuit remains off. I know, it's complicated because now we're dealing with split phase power. Actually, it's scary. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna take off some of this black, so that way we can actually manipulate the wires individually, and we're gonna choose one of the legs to go through our relay. There we go. And then I'll do the same thing with the other side. And essentially all we're doing is connecting them back up with something in the middle.
So basically you're being really careful to just go through the rubber.
Right. If I nick any piece of the of the cord, this is time to redo it, you know?
Yeah, so just take your time. And what Jesse's doing is kind of going around and checking to see if he needs to attack it with the knife a little bit.
Yeah, but basically I went most of the way through the insulation, and then you tear it. And that means that these insulators remain intact. And so what I want to do is pick one of these legs. We'll probably do the black because it looks nicer. And these will both get connected to the relay, and the other two are going to be connected. I think we're going to either use wire nuts or we're going to, we're going to crimp. All right, so we've got our our two sides here. But I'd like to keep all the electricity inside of this plastic box so that it doesn't escape and kill people. So in order to get it into the box, we're going to drill some holes, and then we're going to use some of these guys to keep everything nice and safe. All right, so I've got myself a box. I've got myself the relay. We're going to, this part is not as critical, but we're going to, basically drill a small hole, tie a knot for strain relief, and then mount the relay into the box. Then I need 2 big wires to come in and mount to this, somewhere on the side, either the, 1 in, 1 out, or 2 in from both sides. Essentially, what we got to do is mount this to the wall. We're going to probably mount it here in the shop, and then that way we can kind of, close the box and lock it, and then pop a lock here, so that way we keep it nice and safe. Or, you could, I suppose, go this way, and then the whole thing folds down and out of the way, like that.
That's kind of cool.
That's probably better.
I was thinking maybe put 2 holes in, because the hard part's going to be getting screws in there.
Yeah.
So if you put 2 holes that are elongated so that you can snap it down over the heads of the
Oh,
screws.
you could do that, yeah.
And that way it can come off easily too.
And then the power would come in through the sides?
Or the top. Like you could come in the top and go out the bottom.
Or come in the top and come out the top.
Yep, you can do that.
This is deep enough to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So let's see. Something along the lines of this and this. I like that.
That looks kind of cool.
Yeah. So I've picked this very, very goofily large bit. You're probably not going to find a bit like this in your workshop. You might have a paddle bit or even a Forstner bit around this size. I just happen to have this chunky guy. And what we need to do is pass both, the plastic, but also the threads through the hole. And then, we're going to have the nut on the other side. But we need to be able to pass all of it. And so as you can see, this is the perfect size. At least I think it might be slightly small, but I know that I'm gonna do a bad job drilling, so.
What are you doing?
I'm marking where the hole's gonna go. And I really only need the center, but doing both. And then that's gonna help me determine where I'm gonna do my drilling. This is the problem with using this drill bit. The punch, I think because it's plastic, I just need something to keep it. Let's see. Sweet. All right, now let me see if this fits. I think it'll thread in, which is actually pretty nice.
Like a glove.
And what is this, a conduit connector?
Yeah, and this is gonna be both strain relief and, just safety in general. I probably need to let the plastic out of the box. There you go.
That looks sick.
Yeah, this really worked out. I just really hope that the wire fits. And then on the back side, even though it actually threaded in really well, I'm just gonna add these chunky connectors. So then, here's hoping this fits. Oh yeah. That's gonna work real good. Thank you. Nice. So now,
My advice would be not to tighten it
Yeah.
yet, because you might want to pull it up and do your...
yeah. So now we have our wires on the inside of the box
Sweet.
and nothing electrical on the outside of the box. So the next thing we want to do is find out how to mount the relay to the box. I have a little kit of bolts and nuts and washers that I got at Harbor Freight. They sell these for like $5-10 bucks. It's nice to have them around because in situations like this where you want to do a quick little project and not have to run to the hardware store, you can have some just generalized hardware. Here's what we're going to be using. 2 little bolts with screw heads and some washers and a nut. These are going to go on the bottom of the heatsink here. So no matter how warm this thing gets, the heat is going to be dissipated by the time it gets to the plastic box. I don't anticipate this getting warmer than warm, but worst case, I guess it's our last line of defense for the box. Now I'm thinking of mounting the relay to the bottom of the box, and there is just enough room to basically stick a bolt in from the bottom like that. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So that way, even though I think I'm going to be attaching it on, one of these sides to the wall, this will just keep it out of the way no matter what. So the two things that I want to keep track of here are that I need a hole for the DC cord as well. And so I have a drill. I will be drilling into both the bottom of the box and the side. This is going to be for the DC cord power. Nice little hole. And then I'm going to use my Sharpie to decide where to put the holes for the bolts. So this relay, most of this room is going to be dedicated to all of the cords and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and leave as much room as possible. Just going to pop in some little holes here. Back here. Okay. And that's where the bolts will go. All right, so now I have my holes in the bottom. I'm going to use some washers. Perfect. Perfect. Take my relay. In fact, now would be the easiest time for me to run the power cable as well. Run those in through the hole. There we go. Great. Just keep that out of the way for now. There we go.
30 minutes later.
And this is where you want to have children.
Or needle nose pliers.
Even needle nose might not thread it on. There we go. Voila. And
There's a tricky one down there.
oh boy, should have been more generous with giving myself room.
I'm going to anticipate that he's going to want the needle nose pliers.
Nice. Nice. This we'll have to do by finger, I think. Nice.
Got it?
Yeah. All right, so now we've got that mounted in there. I want the knot right around here.
And the knot is for strain relief. So basically, if it gets yanked, it will run up against the knot.
Yank on the knot. Okay. Bingo. So yeah, pull all you want. You're not going to pull it out or damage any of the electrical bits and bobs.
And you notice how Jesse put in the relay with the DC facing the DC, which is smart. And now he's going to attach the DC leads to the relay.
And just since I'm not doing, this is more than just a test, I'm going to actually uncover just a little bit more of this so we get a really good,
Oh, like a fit under the screw?
yeah, because before it was a little iffy, and now this way we can kind of wrap it around. I'm just going to remove the screw altogether.
And you notice how he's wrapping it counterclockwise so that as he tightens the screw, it will pull in the wire instead of push it out, if that makes any sense.
Was I running it counterclockwise or clockwise? I guess it looks counterclockwise here.
Well, that's
but
Right, and then you're flipping it
you're
upside
flipping
down.
it upside down. There we go. That's all set. Next is going to be the relay. You might say, Jesse, you pulled too much through. Don't worry, this is intentional. I want to be able to work on these cords without having to be inside the box. We need to do a lot of different steps. We're going to crimp, we're going to heat shrink, we're going to also attach these to the relay. So let's get all those stuff done. A couple days passed.
It's cold in here.
Now actually cold in the shop.
Let's get this thing done.
And we have to solve the problem. This is unplugged, so this is de-energized. And now what we have to do is connect one leg and the ground. So we're gonna do the white and the green. And then this will be the switched leg. And nothing should be able to flow until our relay is closed. So I'm gonna start with these ones so I can work on them out here. And then we're going to attach the black ones into our relay. We're gonna use crimps, and to be extra safe, I'm gonna do some heat shrink. Nice. So I'll take a look at that. That was just about right. We'll do the other one. Same thing. Don't forget the heat shrink.
I always forget the heat shrink.
I always forget the heat
Good
shrink.
work. And you can get packets of heat shrink, or you can also get kits of them. We'll put some links down below. Always good to have in the shop. One of those things that you get for one project, but then you use for many others. Mm. Is it just like a really tight fit?
Yeah.
Well, we can always test this though. I mean, we can try and pull it apart.
It's true. All right.
So how are you going to crimp it?
Crimper.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll give it a little more squeeze. A little bit better than wire nuts.
So this isn't a hairdryer.
You could use a hairdryer.
It would get hot enough?
Some of them do. This is just a little faster, and you don't look as girly holding one. It's actually nice in the cold shop.
I know, right?
Ooh. But this does, I think, 1,500 watts, and that does 5,000, so it's like 5 of these. Yeah, that felt pretty good. So we'll do this for the white. All right, so we got our crimps on, and now it's time to do the actual switched thing. So the only thing changing this from a splice is our relay. And now we have to hook up these black wires onto the relay. And what I'd like to do is kind of hook around this central lug here. And of course, we're going to have this screw sitting down on top of it. This screw has this nice big square washer, I guess you'd call it. And that's going to kind of smush it down. It's going to give a lot of electrical connection, especially if I can get that hook, which means that I now have to strip quite a bit of insulation off of this. So that's what I'm going to go do. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to give it a twist.
I'm giving it a twist. Yeah.
Nice.
Look at that twist. And we twist and we twist some more.
So now I'm going to be pulling the wires actually out of the box. So we're going to want to get these out of the way. We're going to want these to be more or less lined up to here. Okay, so then if we wanted to, I could lock in our things, and that would give us our retention, and it's also going to make sure that nothing moves while I'm working on this. That works well. This one just needs a little... There we go. Nice. This is so professional.
You're going nowhere!
Now, it doesn't matter which side I hook this up because it's essentially just going to be connecting and disconnecting. And I think something like that is going to be pretty damn good. So you might be like, Jesse, you're turning the screwdriver backwards. That's so that way I can not strip out the threads. And I'm going to pull the insulator back just a hair. That felt really good. I'm very happy with that. That's a great connection. And then we'll do the same thing here. With a nice J-bend. Yep, that's going to be perfect.
And remember to twist your wires first, that'll give it more strength.
Nice. I stripped just the perfect amount. I feel very, very good about that. So now, in theory, with everything dead, we still should be able to see something here. The result that I'm looking for is to see that these are not connected right now, which is good. We're not seeing, so overload means that there's no connection. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get these two legs to show me some degree of connection. Obviously, it's going to be going through a heating element. And also, I don't know if the thermostat works without power, but we're going to give it a shot.
And so you're testing it by plugging the wall wart into the wall.
Yep, which
would
should
send
power the relay.
2
more inches. There we go. All right, so now with our relay connected, we get the red light. And just out of curiosity, when I touch... And there's no 220 flowing, so I'm not going to kill myself. I don't see anything. That's kind of to be expected, I suppose.
Is this calling?
It would be.
Now it's calling.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I see. You turned it down. Oh, hey. Look at that. So we are seeing quite a lot of resistance, but we should because it's a heating element. So I think this works. And the thing that we can also have is have the Inkbird. Oh, this is actually a pretty good setup because I'm going to unplug this for a moment. I'm going to plug in our thermal guy. I'm going to plug in with the smart switch. So this is already pretty smart. Okay, have that plugged in. Currently off. Then you tell the smart switch to turn on. I'm just going to do it manually. We're going to have it set to 68 degrees. Very good. It's currently 51 in here. Pretty chilly. Then, when I plug this in to the heating, it would turn it on. But the cool part is we have a safety backup, and that is the thermostat on the heater. What we could do would be to set the thermostat to way higher than you normally would like it in here, like 80 degrees, but it could keep the thing from cooking itself, essentially. If its thermocouple detected, something was too high, then like really high, then it would shut off. And so we're actually using it as a bit of a safety mechanism. All right, so in theory, this should all work. What I'm going to do for safety is I'm going to close the box. And I'm going to plug in our heat. Okay, right now.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. I'm going to plug in our heater, or plug in the relay.
Can you hear that, folks? It's on. See the light?
Sound of success. And in just a few seconds, I should start feeling some heat.
So then we could put that below 51 degrees if it'll go that low.
Or I can spoof out the thermocouple. And the cool part is we can put the thermocouple wherever we would like.
So under your armpit.
Right. So, I mean, in this case, I'll heat it up. And you'll see that the measured temperature is skyrocketing.
Off. I heard a click.
And then it just takes a few seconds for this to stop providing power. And it shut off. Oh,
Light is off.
I am so stoked about
We
that.
did it.
So the other cool thing about this is depending on where we put the thermocouple will determine what the temperature in here will actually be. I could stick this on the floor, which is concrete. We could heat up the floor, say the night before something. And then if we needed to use, the 220 for something else, we could even just rely on the floor as a big thermal battery. But I think what we'd want is to have this somewhere in the middle of the room. I'm just waving this to cool it off.
69. There we go. 68. Click. 66. And so.
Hell yeah, dude.
We did it.
We did it. We got it working.
We showed you how to, for about, what, 25 bucks?
Well,
for the parts.
$25 for us. If you have to
that's
buy
true.
this, it's more expensive.
We'll put all the links down below. It's not that expensive, and for what we're actually able to do, the amount of money you're going to save on electricity, I think, is a lot.
It's true.
And then the comfort you're going to have. All right, so we're going to unplug this thing, mount that to the wall, and then our project is done.
Yeah. We could either just try and screw it to the wall, which is actually kind of hard since it's inside of a box. What we're going to do is what a lot of different things do, which is to kind of have like that keyhole shape, where you have the big hole that fits the head and then the small side that doesn't fit the head. And so we need two different size holes that drilled next to each other. And so in this case, we have the big drill that fits the head and the small drill that only fits the shaft.
And why are you making the hole first?
You could do it either way. This is just slightly easier. Once I make the hole, we can hold it up to where we want to mount it, and then we can make a mark with a marker and then insert our screws. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to have to be a little bit careful not to hit anything, but we do have quite a bit of space. I'm just not going to put as much. I'm not going to go and hit anything too important here.
The best laid plans of mice and men.
I think I'm going to be aiming for right about here. And this will take like a couple holes. And let me just also think about how it's going to sit. So the skinny side's going to be on top. Well, so much for not going through too far. Good thing I only hit the heat sink. And I'm just going to go try and do a side cut with the drill. Close enough for government work. Okay. Wasn't expecting that. I'll do a smaller hole, I guess, to get it.
So maybe it's easier to put the big hole first.
I guess so, yeah, since it'll just fall into the small hole. All right, so I'm going to try and, I'm not going to hit my fingers, but I am going to, yeah. Jesus Christ. Maybe do this before you do any of the electrical, huh? So I'm just going to use this pick as an awl to kind of give it a little somewhere to start. Luckily, this particular bit has a nice little pointy end, so it'll stay where you put it. Just since I cannot actually keep it safe, I'm going to put a piece of wood behind it. Nice. Who needs an end mill for that, you know? So now, in theory, this should make a perfect detent. So you'll have to kind of push it onto the wall. Excellent. We'll do the same thing above. Give it a little starter. Nice. And then give it a little. Nice. It's definitely not the cleanest hole in the world. Great. So now we should be able to make our marks and get this attached to the wall. This is good. It allows the door to kind of stay up and open.
So Jesse can't fit in there with the marker, but I'm giving him this bent awl so that he can maybe just make a little mark.
Good idea.
And again, this is all unplugged, so it's safe.
Even if I...
There's no capacitors in the system.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's made his 2 holes.
See if I can find them.
Can you find them?
Is that one? Yep. And that one. Yeah.
So he's
sure.
going to circle those with his marker just so he can
Find them again.
spot them again.
Right there. And right there. And just as a sanity check, hold them up. Those are the right heights. So now I will, do I pre-drill? Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to go in most of the way, but not all the way.
And just a note about tips, Phillips tips.
They've gotten bad.
They've gotten bad.
I'm gonna go that far for now. It's about the thickness of the plastic. We may need to go a little tighter, I'm not sure. Come on. All right, we'll start with that. That one's good. That one is being troublesome. Come on.
Depth-wise or lineup-wise?
Depth-wise. Oh, it's good. Oh. Oh. That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Congratulations.
That is pretty good. All right, so then, last pieces we're gonna need. Thermal Probe 9000. It's actually an Inkbird plug-and-play thermostat. Plug this in using the smart switch, like such. We want to leave the thermocouple somewhere. It's not too critical. We simply plug in the heating element. There we go. And we could attach that here if we wanted to.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Have a nice little thermostat. Okie doke. So now, I'm just gonna kind of stick this in behind. That's our thermocouple. So we actually have a shop thermostat now. We used to have like a big analog, dinky one. Now we have like a digital one and we can adjust the set point all we want. And the last final step is to plug in our 220 power source. And we got some heat.
So there you have it, and here's a time lapse of it working. So when the red light's on, the heater is running. And as you can see, it kept it at 62 degrees all night with very little variance.
The best part for me is that with the smart switch, you can turn it on and off from anywhere in the world.
Not only from your bedroom, but your phone. You can even program it so it'll start heating up at 3 in the morning while you sleep, and you just have to talk to your smart device to tell it exactly what you want.
We've already saved over $50 in electricity, and that's just this season.
And we're more productive and have more shop time because we don't have to go in the morning, turn on the heater, wait 3 hours, and then come back and get some work done. It could just be ready in the morning.
So maybe in the future, we'll upgrade this to a smart thermostat.
This might have been the way to go, but we had so many of the parts lying around anyway.
Let us know if you'd like us to do that down in the comments.
And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss an episode.
And if you liked it, we'd really appreciate a like.
See you next time on Now We Build.